Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking to Armand Rosamilia. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you with us. And I'm just really intrigued by your shirt. First, can you just show it off a little bit?
This is my wife loves buying me shirts. This is a Dunkin' Donuts Dungeons and Dragons shirt because I'm a huge Dunkin' Donuts fan, and I was a huge Dungeons and Dragons geek growing up.
Okay, yeah. It's very intriguing to me. And that leads us right into, tell us about yourself. So now we know you like Dunkin' Donuts and Dungeons and Dragons.
I do. I'm originally from New Jersey. I'm living down in Jacksonville, Florida now the last 20 years.
Oh, wow.
I've been writing full-time. This would be my 11th year. And I write crime thrillers. I write horror books. I write nonfiction. I'll write contemporary fiction, pretty much anything but romance, although I have ghostwritten a couple of romance books.
Oh. So
pretty much anything,
Cool.
Thrillers is my main crime thrillers is my main thing now. So my next series will be and a lot of them are set. A lot of my stories are set either in New Jersey or down here in Florida, but I have characters all over the place. I've traveled a lot, book signings and just travel me and my wife and stuff like that. So it's
very
all been good.
Cool. Yeah. That is very cool. So what did you do prior to these 11 years?
I did retail management for 20 something years. I hated every second of it. And I probably killed every boss and every customer in a short story or a novel at this point. But there's a few left I still want to get to.
That's hilarious. I love it. That's a big change, but yeah, a much needed one by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I had lost. They wanted to move me to another store, which is even further. No extra money. I was working, 70, 80 hours a week. And I hated every second of it. I was in a relationship at the point where I was not happy. Mm-hmm. And basically I got laid off, and I was like, oh, I'm going to write more than I do until I find another job. And I went looking, 40 something years old, I'm looking for a brand new job, and it's all garbage pay, and you have to work store hours and all this. And I said, unfortunately, I painted myself into that corner of retail.
Yeah.
From high school on. And so I was like, you know what, I let me give this a serious go. And I got very lucky because I had a couple of short stories published, and then a company came to me and said, we really like your work, we like what you're doing, and we're working with a movie company, and they want to write books based on their movies, or they want to write their properties so they could I guess for copyright, which doesn't really mean anything, but to them it was such a big deal. So I ended up writing 14 different books for this company, based on movie scripts or based on a couple of them. They were actually filming the movies at the time. Wow. So it was a great start for me. Yeah,
that's really cool.
So I wiped out all my debt and paid all my bills and everything with a lot of that money. Yeah. And it really just proved to me that I could do this full time and I could make a living out of this. And that's what I've been doing for the last 11 years.
Wow. I love hearing stories about how people change jobs to something so very different. I think it's important for people to understand that what you pick as your career choice coming out of high school or college is not something you have to do forever. It's a for now.
I almost did it forever. That was for me, if they had kept giving me these tiny little raises and on and patting me on the back every once in a while, I'd probably still be doing that. I just turned 52 a few days ago. I'd probably still be doing that and be like the lifers that, there's people there. I've been out of that job 11 years now, and there's still the a lot of the same management team in place in those stores.
Yeah.
And it's sad because I'm sure they're all still complaining like we
Oh, probably.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. My mom's been working the same job for like 20 years, hates it, complains about it,
Yeah.
but then doesn't go find something else.
No, my wife has a job. She's been 15 years now. She does
Oh, okay.
commercial property management,
Oh,
and
nice.
she loves it. She's it's one of its career for her. You know, it's not a job.
Yeah.
Manages millions of square feet of property here in Jacksonville and Atlanta, all over the country, and
Oh,
she
cool.
loves her job. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some bad days and stuff.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
idiots you work with or you run into, but otherwise she loves her job, and
That's
I'm like
awesome.
that's great. I wish I had that, you know, when I
Yeah.
started instead of, oh, I'm going to start retail and go
Mm-hmm.
through this hell
Well,
of retail.
hey, you found your calling now,
I
so
have. I
yes.
get to wake up every morning and make a cup of coffee and go into my office and kiss her off to work for the day and
Yep.
blast music and sit around in my underwear and create things.
Exactly. That's great.
Yeah, so I'm very blessed with that.
Excellent. So now shifting gears to mental health. See how subtle that was?
Very subtle. I didn't even realize we were doing it.
I know, magic. So wherever you want to start your story, just let's go. Tell us about it.
So I am bipolar, and I was diagnosed in my late 20s, and you know, I would get depressed all the time. I was in a very bad relationship back then. Money issues. We had 3 very small children at the time, and my ex wasn't really contributing. So she was a waitress, and she would work, and then she would go to Walmart and spend
Oh, geez.
all of her tips and come home. Look, I just bought this new bag. Okay, well, rent is like past due. And it was the stress of all that, and it was depression. And I just thought, okay, it's just because of the situation I'm in, and that's it. And then I found myself not being able to get out of bed, and calling in like 2 days in a row to work because I literally could not get out of bed. And then I was like, you know, I want to talk to somebody. I want to see. I want to go to the doctor or something. And you know, I went and I fought it for weeks, and I just didn't want. For me, it was that stigma of there's something wrong with me,
Yes.
you know, and that was a big thing for me. And when I told my parents were like, well, yeah, we that's on both sides of the family, you know,
Oh, really?
mental health. So you know, that's part of who you are.
Yeah.
And so I think I was on like lithium or something in the beginning.
Yeah, that's a common one.
Yeah, and it just wiped my brain. I was like this all the time. And I wasn't creative for like a year. I couldn't write anything for like a year. And
Yeah, that's really hard.
I just went to work and I was miserable. And so I was like, I got to do something else. And I tried a couple of different things. And it was really hard because of that, because I'm a creative person and that's my outlet and that's what I do. You know, that's me. And I couldn't write. I couldn't form 2 thoughts. And I would like, you know, stare off into the distance all the time. So I stopped all that, which is not a great thing to do, but I started doing, so I talked to another doctor and they said, well, there's other things you can do.
Okay.
You know? And so I was like, all right, well, I don't believe in any of your holistic mumbo jumbo, but I will try this. That's not me. I'm you know.
Yep.
But you know, it's worked. There's mental exercises. There's things I do. I still get depressed. I have not had the peaks and valleys that I used to get, and I don't know if it's getting older. I don't know if it's in a much better situation, life-wise for them. It could be all of these things, but I find that when I am medicated, my brain just the creative side just completely turns off.
Yeah. So it's a good thing you found this holistic mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, exactly. and that's what it is. And it's just, it's mental exercises. It's thinking of how blessed I am. I mean, I do take a bunch of different pills.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of things, melatonins and different
Mhm.
those types of, so I take 8 pills in the morning
Wow.
and 7 at night. And it's not pills. It's
Yeah, it's like vitamins and supplements, right?
yeah, like here's it's an appetite support, probiotic. It's different things like that.
Yeah.
That for the mental health part of it.
Mhm.
And I used to take, I don't know, like 20 different like pills. Like I was like insane with, I have to, I need to take every pill on the market that helps with mental health and helps with this. And I mean, handfuls of pills every day, which didn't work.
Yeah.
So we did this company that does like you put it together. My wife's been doing it for a few months now.
Okay.
And she's lost weight. She's sleeps better and all that. So
good.
I've started doing that, and that's actually for the last 3 or 4 months. That's actually started helping. I'm starting to get back into that routine, and my head's clear. I feel better. I'm writing, NaNoWriMo November. So I'll probably end up with about 100,000 words written on all different projects. And so I finished a 63,000 word book in the month, and then I'll do other stuff. So for me, it definitely helps with that. And then just the stress, my parents are awesome, but my parents are very New Jersey, Italian, in your face on everything. And that was me growing up. I mean, everything was an argument. Everything was a get in your face.
Yeah.
Kind of. So now all my kids are older. My youngest, she's 21.
Okay.
And I don't stress, when dealing with her and dealing with the other two. I don't stress with all that. I just kind of go, that's them. And how was I in my 20s? Well, I was worse than they were. I was making poorer decisions. And I think back to my parents doing the same thing. And then my youngest, of course, is also bipolar.
Okay.
So she's doing the meds and she's going through all that.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about that. And I said, well, this was my journey, and this is still my journey of how I deal with it, but it might be different for you, So try the different things. Try and see what helps you, because ideally no two people are the same, and you just need to be happy. I mean, you're 21. You don't need to know your life of what you're going to do. Enjoy yourself right now. It's my parents put that stress on all of us of know what you're doing. Because my dad was in Vietnam in the late 60s and the 70s.
Okay. Yeah.
And came out on Thursday, or he came home on Thursday. On Monday, he had a job with the phone company.
Yeah.
And he did that for 30 years. That was his job.
Yeah.
And
that was that whole generation. Because even my grandma used to say, get the job first, figure out the rest later.
Yeah.
And that was the mindset of that generation.
Because they all worked one job or maybe 2 jobs in their lives.
Exactly. And once you got it, you were good. That was it. You didn't need anything else.
No, because that job was always going to be there.
Yeah.
There was no turnover. There was none of this. And now I laugh because my oldest, he's 25, and we figured out one day sitting around that he's had more jobs in his life than I've had in my life.
Wow.
And I've had a lot of jobs. I've gone from retail place to retail place.
Yeah.
And he's gone through a ton of jobs. Like every couple of months at one point, he was, I'm running a car wash. I'm doing tattoos. I'm working. And I mean, all over the place, just trying to find himself. And as a father, you just kind of go, okay, figure out what you're doing. Just don't do anything. Don't do anything stupid or illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't hurt yourself. Don't hurt anybody else. If you want to jump from job to job to job, knock yourself out. I mean, find the thing that you want.
Yeah. And
Took me to
that's the biggest difference between the older generation and the new one, right?
yeah,
It used to be find your one job, you're good, you're set. And now it's find yourself
yeah.
and base your job around that.
Yeah, I'm in that middle generation between
Yeah.
my parents and my grandparents' thought process on that, and then, my kids today are all over the place. Of, well, I didn't like that job anymore. I didn't want to do that. I'm going to
Yeah.
do something completely different.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, as long as you're happy, and that's the thing. As long as
Yeah.
as long
Happy,
as you're happy
healthy,
doing it.
and legal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Please stay with the legal stuff.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so what were some of those mental tricks, exercises that you were talking about?
So it's just, I mean, it's more like common sense things that I will still do. It's the
Common sense. It's
Yeah,
not
right.
always so common.
Not at all. It's the take a step back. It's the breathe exercises. It's not a lot of it is meditation stuff, which I don't really do. A lot of it is also um healthy, So I'm obese, so I'm overweight. I probably got about 100 pounds to lose. And I go back and forth. My weight fluctuates like 50 pounds, yeah, up and down, up and down. And so that's part of it. I have my Fitbit. I do my 6,000 to 10,000 steps every day. And in the house, so from my office through the living room, through the kitchenette, through the kitchen, through the dining room is 42 steps. So I'll,
A lot of trips.
yeah, I do a lot of trips through the house, which drives my wife crazy. She's like, I have to go outside. I'm like, I don't want to go outside. So, I'm in the house for like a week at a time before she's like, and that's the other part is probably about once a week, she'll say, when was the last time you left the house? And I said, well, I got the mail every day. I walk to the driveway and get the mail. And she's like, put some pants on. You need to go out.
Yeah.
We need to go to dinner, or we need to go do something, go for a ride, go through Dunkin' Donuts. We'll grab a coffee and we'll just go for a ride through, and I fight it, but it helps mentally. It completely changes everything for me.
Well, you get some sunlight, some fresh air, some more.
I start to get grumpy. I mean, after like 4 or 5 days in the house without talking to anybody except for Zoom meetings and things like that, you really need that interaction. And I find that it really helps my writing to go to a restaurant and eavesdrop on the couple arguing next to you.
I mean, we don't do that as writers.
No, yeah. So and that's a big thing for me, the to get out of the house. And I wrote a book, a nonfiction book about Dunkin' Donuts and going to Dunkin' Donuts every day. And it was conversations that I overheard, and it was also coming out of my comfort zone and actually talking to people. Yeah. And tell me your story kind of thing. And that was a big thing for me. Like that was a great month of doing that, because I learned so much about myself, listening to other people's stories and having conversations. And of course, then using some of those conversations or those characters in future stories. Yes. So my wife will read some of my stuff. She's my first reader.
Yeah.
And because she's like brutal.
You know what's hilarious? I don't let my husband read my stuff.
Really?
Yep. I told him you're not allowed to read it.
Some stuff she's not allowed to read. If it gets the horror stuff gets a little too crazy, I won't let her read it. But a lot of the other stuff I will, the crime thriller stuff, because she's a big fan of that.
Oh, okay.
And she'll read, or she'll circle a part and she'll say, I remember this, or I remember this person or this conversation, because everything, as a writer, everything you see, everything you hear is in the back of your head, and it's eventually going to go into a story.
Yes, exactly. Actually, I had named one of my characters Chloe in one of the short scary stories that I wrote, not even realizing where I picked the name up was from somebody that I had taught at one point. And I didn't even clue in that that's where the name popped into my head. I was like, I just really like this name. It's a good name.
Yeah. A lot of times I'll have characters will have a conversation, or they'll be somewhere, and then she'll point that out. Oh, that's when we went to Hilton Head, you know, or that's when we went to Jekyll Island or wherever. And I'm like, I don't even remember. I don't remember that part. It just was stored away with a million other people and conversations in my head, and it pops out at some point into a story.
Oh, well, there you go. So, what is, or rather, when did you decide to finally go this holistic route? Because at first you said that you were not doing it, and then you were on the lithium, that was no good. So then how did that go from there?
The doctor prescribed a couple of other different medications, and I can't remember the names of them. And again, it was the same effect. It was, my mind was wiped. So I was in a good place, but again, I was in this place right here. I never got angry. I never got happy. I smiled. There's a couple of pictures of me from Christmas from years ago, and I just have this weird, like, fake smile on my face, you know, and my eyes are glazed over, and it's awful. And so I really got to I think everything for me came all at the same time, about, again, like 10 or 11 years ago. I had been laid off. I had just started talking to this company about writing these books for them, movie company. And I was living with a girl who, her and I were fighting all the time. I hated my situation. The landlord wanted us out of his house.
Ew.
But we were like, well, no, we've paid the rent. You can't just, like, he literally knocked on the door. He's like, hey, you guys need to leave by like this weekend. What? We were like, no, that's not good. We just paid you rent for next month. So he turned the water off. And we were fighting, but there was nothing we could do. The house wasn't in our name. So her and I were like, well, I was like, well, I guess we got to get another place. And she was like, no, I'm leaving. Me and my son are leaving. And I had, my oldest was with me at the time. And so we were basically, I was like, well, I have nowhere to go. And she ended up, she had a boyfriend, which I didn't realize. So she moves her and her son in with the boyfriend.
Oh, okay.
And so we have no running water. So we're literally taking a bucket and going to outside. They had a pool, and we're scooping the water from the pool and pouring it into the toilet. And when it would rain, me and my son would put on our bathing suits and go outside and stand under in the rain and soap up. And I mean, it was ridiculous how we were living. And I was so depressed at that point. And I hadn't been on any medication. I hadn't been on anything.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I got, like, it was like a movie. She walked out the door with her last suitcase, and then my phone rang, and it was the movie company offering me, like, you know, a lot of money, like, here's 6 figures to write this first book, kind of thing. It was like a life-changing thing. And I remember being on the phone. My son was 13, 14, and I'm on the phone with them, and I'm like, no, I'm a full-time author, and I'm like really hyping myself up.
Oh yeah.
I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good, blah, blah. And my son walks past me with a bucket of water so he can go to the bathroom, and he just laughs and he says, yeah, you're doing great. And I thought that was like really funny, because like he was busting my chops.
Yeah.
And at that point, I moved back in with my parents, which was awful. I was living in their dining room, you know, so it was, I mean, it was bad. And that's when I was like, I got to go back to the doctor. I have to get my head on straight, because I knew there was no way I'm ever gonna be able to live my life. I'm like, you know, 40 years old, and I'm back home living with my parents. My parents are taking care of my kid, and my other 2 kids are, you know, away in Texas with my ex. And so that was really for me, that was the wake up to try something different. And when I went to the doctor, I said, I can't do pills. I can't do lithium. I can't do any of these things.
We've already tried. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I've tried for years. I've tried for 15 years on this. It does not work. So what else can I do? And that was the turning point. And a lot of it, again, I fought. I'm like, I'm not doing this. No, that's stupid. I'm not doing yoga. I'm not doing meditation. I'm not doing all these, yuppie dumb things that you're telling me to do. You know, that's not me. I'm not that guy. I'm the the hard Jersey Italian heavy metal guy, and I'm not doing any of that. I'm not listening to, um, you know, uh, cheesy music and meditating and all this stuff. I'm not doing any of that. But some of it I've worked through. Some of it I've done.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What's your favorite one that you like?
So this is the one that I do a lot of the time, and it's great because I'm home by myself. So I will put on the TV. I will put on like the '80s channel, and it's like, oh, and it's all stuff I don't like Madonna and Prince and all this stuff that I did not listen to growing up.
Mhm.
But it's the music, it's the beat, and then
Yes.
I dance like an idiot for 2 or 3 songs. Yeah, exactly. Moving your arms and doing different things. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll do that until like I'm sweaty and I'm moving my arms, so I'm getting my steps for my Fitbit. And
Yes.
my heart rate's going up, and it knocks you out. You know what I mean? But it's good. It's a positive, fun thing. Obviously, I would never be able to do that in front of anybody. My wife always laughs on the weekend. She's like, "Are you gonna do your dance routine for me?" I'm like, "No, you will never ever see that." Yeah, and it's all just random, goofy things.
Yeah,
So,
I'll walk around the grocery store like that, so I'm good.
yeah. So
I'm a weirdo.
but for me, that's what one of those things, and really just every now and then, just taking a second and realizing that this is what I do for a living. I sit here and I make stuff up, and that's it. I drink coffee all day. I stare at the neighbors because I'm an old man. I got to watch everybody going by, and I'm make my own lunch and
Yeah.
enjoy life. So
Yeah.
like Black Friday was always mentally the worst day for me because of
Yeah,
retail.
in retail. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And like I remember working at a store, and I would have to come in at 2 o'clock in the morning because at 5 a.m. we opened the doors, and I, as a manager, I had to give out. I was one of the managers who had to stand at the door and give away these stupid Mickey Mouse snow globes.
Ugh,
It's like the first 1,000 people walking through the door.
lovely.
And people are pushing and fighting, and I'm like, I'm gonna break all of these. Like seriously, give me a line here. Like I was yelling at people.
Yeah.
And I hated that mentally for years, having to do that, and having to work at places that were open on Thanksgiving or were open on Christmas and all that, and having to do that.
Yeah.
And like Black Friday is the worst. Like for me, you're an awful person if you tell me, oh, I'm going out shopping for Black Friday, especially now. Everything's online.
I was about to say I shopped Black Friday.
Yeah.
On my phone.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I did this morning too? I woke up and I'm like, all right, I got to get my wife a couple more things for Christmas. Like, I'm already done with all my, because I only have to shop for her, which is great.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I got a couple more things, and I know they're going to be on sale today, which they were. And I went and I got them.
Yeah.
And like that's it. And like she'll do the same thing. We'll make our list ahead of time, and
Yeah.
Amazon shows up 1,000 times in a couple of weeks, and
Yep.
you're done with it. Very rarely will she go up. Today she's putting my nephews here. They're going to put up the Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Oh, good. I have an interview. I got to do an interview this morning at 11.
Yeah.
So I can't help you with that. And we'll fight anyway over
Yeah.
who's doing what, because we're both managers. That's the problem.
Yeah. No, I pretty much run the house.
Yeah. Well, she pretty much does too. But I'm always like that. I'm the man of the house, and she's like, just go get a cup of coffee and go do something.
Yeah.
else.
No, my husband's never like, I'm the man of the house.
Well, I will never say it. I mean,
Yeah,
it should kill me. But in my mind, I'm thinking, well, no, I'll put the chairs together because this is the manly thing. That's the Jersey Italian in me. That's how you grow up.
Yeah.
My dad worked. Mom watched me and my brother. She was a housewife.
Yep.
So.
Oh my gosh,
I mean,
my husband tries to, because he thinks it's funny, my reaction. He tries to go, oh, well, you're just a housewife. And I'm like, I do not cook and clean for you.
Yeah. And that's what it was growing up, was everybody on our block. We grew up, and all the moms stayed home with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and dad went out to work. And This great. I mean, my dad retired at 50 after 30 years of working for the phone company, and
Yeah.
so he's been retired 22 years now, and my mother's always like, go get a job, get out of the house, like
Yeah, leave. You're bothering me.
you bother me. Like I had a routine for many years, and now you've
Yeah.
completely thrown that. But
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, me and my wife, we will bang heads on a lot of that stuff. So I just kind of defer to her. We have Thanksgiving here every year, and 30 something people show up, and so it's like, what do you want me to do? Give me my
Mm-hmm.
list, and I'm home all week while you're cooking and while you're running around and doing stuff.
Yeah.
You know, put the tent up outside, put the chairs and the tables and the drink thing. Okay, and just give me my list every year, and I'll do it and stay out of your
Yeah.
way. You stay out of mine, and it works.
Yeah.
And mentally, it works. I get panic attacks if I'm in a large group. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
like I don't like I don't like being bumped into. I never go food
Mm.
shopping with her because that's like her place. She's like, I'm gonna go for like 2 hours and I'm gonna wander every aisle. And
Oh
when
no, I'm like in and out. Like
well, that's me. Like I'll literally be like, okay, give me the what do we need?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna order. I'm gonna get cold cuts. All right, good. Give me something else on the list, and I'm gonna go get it. She's like, no. That's not how I shop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you're gonna stand here for 10 minutes and wait for them to cut salami, I can get every other thing on that list, and then we can go home.
Mm.
And she's like, no, I'm gonna do this for like I'm gonna be here for like an hour and a half or 2 hours because that's her thing. So I never go food
Yeah.
shopping with her.
No, I wouldn't want to go for that long. That's too long.
Yeah, but that's kind of her. That's her decompress. That's her spot. That's
Yeah.
her disappear spot. So which is great for her.
Yeah. Everybody's got to have one.
Yeah.
You like to crazy dance on your own. She likes to go grocery shopping.
Well, I always think, and one of the things I always think of is she gets up in the morning and she leaves and she goes to work for 8-10 hours and she comes back, but then I'm here. I'm always here.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of her. Like she'll travel. She goes to Atlanta once a month for a couple of days.
Oh, okay.
And for to see those properties. And sometimes I'll go, but most of the time I just stay home because that's her time to sit in a hotel room and order, takeout food and just be on her own because she's not on her own here. There's just constantly people around her. There's that constant pressure. Her phone's always ringing with work stuff at 2:00 in the morning and stuff. So I try to be aware, cognizant of she also needs her space. I get my space all day.
Yeah.
She's out the door by 9:00 and 6:00 she's coming home. But I've had that entire day to myself. And if I'm not doing interviews, or if I'm not, I have a Twitch channel where I write on. If I'm not doing my Twitch during the day, I don't talk to anybody. I don't see anybody unless it's emails.
Yeah. So what do you do on Twitch? You write on it?
I write every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I go on live on Twitch and I write. So for NaNoWriMo, I'm writing parts of my NaNoWriMo novel. And then
so people just watch you write?
Yeah, people watch me write and I'll talk out and they'll ask me questions or they'll make comments in the chat. And then I just
Twitch was just like
talking
video games.
No, it's and there's a lot of writers on there. There's quite a few writers on there, and they'll do.
I gotta do that.
Yeah, they'll do sprints and stuff. And the cool part is once you hit certain criteria, 50 followers and different things, you start getting paid for the ads and stuff.
Yeah. I'm writing it down, guys. I'm gonna Twitch.
Yeah, if you follow me, you follow Armand Rosamilia on there. You can find me and watch me work, and then I will follow you back. And it's really neat. It's so I'll write short stories, like 1 or 2 a week on there, and I'll just completely pantsing it off the top of my head, and I'll talk it. I'm talking it out, and then I'll glance over to my other monitor, and people are saying stuff and hey, welcome or whatever in the chat, and I'll talk to people back and forth, or they'll ask questions and stuff. So it's very it's very interactive. Yeah, it's
really cool. Gotta do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I would do it 3 times a week. I don't know if I'd have time for that, but at least once a week I totally could.
Yeah, and that's really, I do it for an hour, about an hour a day, and I'll get like 3 writing sprints in. And a lot of days, like especially NaNoWriMo, that was my writing for the day. Was
That's
1 to like 2 o'clock or 2:15 or something, and then I was done. Here's my 2,000 words for the day, and
yeah.
play around the rest of
Excellent.
the day. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot more interactive than I thought it was going to be. I thought, okay, I'm an idiot. I'm going to be sitting here, and I
Well,
got my
that's what I'm
camera.
picturing. So now
Yeah,
I gotta go on and actually like find you and
yeah,
watch. And
yeah. If you go on, you see some really cool. Like, I'm going on today, 1 o'clock, and I'll finish a short story that I started on Wednesday.
I
Yeah,
love
so
it.
it's fun. It's fun.
Totally gonna look into that after I finish the projects that I'm currently working on.
Right. Yeah.
That's my problem. I'm like, I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll do that. And I'm like, wait.
There's my
I gotta
board
do
behind me. And it's got about, I don't know, 15
Yeah.
or 30 things on it that are open projects right now.
Yeah, exactly. I have a board too, and it's like, okay.
And I keep adding to it, and my wife keeps yelling at me. She'll come in here every now and then, and she'll be like, I see more stuff on that board. Or I'll get excited and I'll say, hey, I just signed another 6-book deal with Severed Press. And she's like, you haven't finished the last 6 with them, and I'm like, well, a couple more books with them, and then I'm going to do the next one. I live in fear, and I'm a hybrid. I do, I work with presses, but then I also do self-published stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I do both, and so I'm always in fear that the presses are going to stop offering me contracts or me pitch them books. So it's I got to keep adding and adding, which is really a bad habit to have.
Yeah. Interesting. So speaking of books, what have you written? Well, I mean, you've sort of already told us. So more, where can people get them?
I'm on Amazon. That's a lot of my books are Amazon exclusives, although some of the older releases are available wide on Barnes and Noble and Kobo and all those. I have a website, armandrosamilia.com, which is currently being completely revamped. So you'll be able to buy print books, signed print books right off of the website, which would be good. Obviously, my Twitch channel, I use at least 3 times a week. A lot of times on the weekends, I'll also just kind of jump on.
Yeah.
And Twitter, I'm very active on Twitter. It's at Armand Author on there. So those are the best places to find me. But I'm on all social media, even if I don't understand it. One of my kids will set some weird thing up for me. And
are you on TikTok?
I am there. I don't think I've added anything on there yet. Are you? Yeah. I don't think I've added anything on there. I'll watch some of them. I go down that rabbit hole.
I know my husband too. He doesn't post anything, but he just watches them.
It's one of those things. So me and my wife will watch TV every night.
Yeah.
And unless you have to read, like it's a foreign film or TV show, we both have our phones, and she'll play Facebook games while she's watching, and I'm like on Instagram, I'm like hitting reels, and I'm just watching. Yeah. And she's like, what are you watching? I'm like, I don't know, people falling down, half naked women. This is there's a giant shark in the water. I mean, just random
stuff. Yeah.
And I'll watch for like 2 hours every night, just watching.
Yeah, that's my husband.
Random things. Yeah.
I'll do like 5-minute sprints during the day. I'll just randomly go on. But yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so very much for being on the show. One last question that I love to ask everybody is, what piece of advice would you give somebody that is struggling right now?
For me, the best advice I ever got was to step back. Don't live in that moment, that awful place you're in right now. It's kind of like I think the doctor, it's kind of like a reboot on your computer. All of a sudden your computer shuts down or starts doing stuff, and then you reboot back to a save point from like 3 days ago, and everything is fine. For me, it's okay. When was my last, off the top of my head, when was my last happy memory? And it doesn't necessarily, it might be like from 5 years ago when we went on vacation or whatever.
Yeah.
And just to kind of think of that, and then don't act. Don't act on anything.
Okay.
Don't I mean, and it depends on what acting it is. So acting for me might be, it's not going to be suicidal thoughts or anything like that, but it might be, I'm going to just go crawl back into bed and shut the door and lock the door, and I'm just going to sleep for the next 10 hours. And I used to do that. Yeah, I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
So for me, the best way is just stop living in this awful moment, because this awful moment will pass. And then at some point you're going to look back and you're like, I don't even remember why I was depressed at that point. I don't remember what happened. And a lot of times it might be nothing happened. It might be some subconscious thing happened, that you don't even realize is going on at the time. And all of a sudden I'm just in a mood. And my wife has had to deal with that now. We've been together almost 10 years from dating. We've been married for 6.
Okay.
And it was very hard for her in the beginning to figure out my cycles, my moods.
Yeah.
And there's a very subtle between, this is Armand thinking about a book, and this is Armand who wants to crawl back into bed and sleep for the next 12 hours.
Okay, yeah.
And it was hard for her to read that, to see which me was in front of her, ignoring her at that time, not answering her questions, not wanting to do stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that was, it's tough on the other person. It's tough on the people around you when you cycle like that. I mean, I've had where I'm jumping on the couch, I'm so excited about, and it's about absolutely nothing. It's just, that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. Oh. Well, that is great advice. Actually, that's step back, reset. My reset is taking a nap. And then I always feel refreshed.
My naps, I do power naps, was like 20 minutes.
Yes.
My wife's power nap is like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, my husband's is quite long, if you know.
So when we started dating, we were like, oh, it's Saturday, let's take a nap. I would, after like 20 minutes, I'm up and wide awake, and I'm like, well, come on. She's like, no, I haven't even started yet. Like, my nap is like 3 and 4 hours. So that's always a weird a thing. She'll come home exhausted from work. She's like, I need a nap before I can make dinner. And I'm like, what time do you want me to wake you up? She's like 7. So I know by like 8:30 maybe I'll wake her up, which is always funny. But yeah, I need that 15 minutes of just that refresh.
Yes.
I'll read for about 10 minutes. I'll read a chapter or 2 in a book. It kind of clears the mind of what's going on. Because if I lay down and I think, I gotta write, I got NaNoWriMo. I never get to sleep. But if I'm just like, let me read some fiction and get out of my head for a little bit. And then I'm like, all right, 15, 20 minutes, I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to have the links so that people can find your books, follow you down in the description below. So make sure that everybody gives Armand a follow.
Thank you very much for having me on. This is a lot of fun.
So what a great episode that was. It was a lot of fun talking to him. And yeah, Twitch will be coming, guys. I will let you know when that drops. I'm kind of excited to do that. I can totally write my stories and talk to everybody while we do it. It'd be fun, right? I hope so. Anyways, make sure that you hit up Armand's links down in the description below. Give him a follow. Check out what he's written. And of course, remember, we do have our Patreon channel so that you can get some behind the scenes footage and some first looks at some of the writing that's going to be happening. We do have a merch store. 10% of the proceeds goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Bye.